Good day and welcome to A Place Called Through. I am your host, Patricia Goings, and we're broadcasting live from WYTV7 Community Broadcasters Network. Today, we're here to give you more inspirational moments on A Place Called Through. We're talking today with Minister Theresa Roberts. She is also the author of Why People Don't Like Me. So we want to share her story of abduction to where she is in marriage and in ministry today. And you know, we share these kind of stories because of you that support us. And we thank you for your support. But we want to ask you to continue supporting this ministry so that we can help with our mission of hope, as our goal is to inspire, encourage, and empower others as we do so globally. And you know what? We do those with your continual support. Your monetary donations make the difference. So give to this ministry today. Help us to continue with our mission of hope. And we're thanking you in advance. Once again, welcome to A Place Called Through. I am your host. I am Patricia Goings. Welcome to A Place Called Through with our guest today, Theresa Roberts. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ms. Goings. I appreciate you.
It is our pleasure. It is our pleasure. And we thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today. And we want to talk to you a little bit because we know, most children are out playing ball, jumping rope as little girls, playing with your dolls, running up and down the streets, talking to your friends, going to school, and the laughter and the chatter that goes on as a child. And as you were doing that, you had a horrific situation that happened to you. And, it's hard to even fathom that a small child would be kidnapped. But at the age of 10, you endured that. So talk to us, if you will, about, how did this happen to you? And did you know the person that you were kidnapped by?
To answer your question, no. How did it happen? I grew up in a very large family. My parents have 12 children. My parents both have been married together for almost 70 years. We grew up in a very small home, 3-bedroom, 1 bath. And the 12 of us, by both of my parents, lived in this home together on the south side of Chicago. So one day going to school, as normal big families, my parents didn't take us to school. The older sibling was responsible for the younger sibling. So as my older sister walked my brother and I to school one day, on our way there, no one was really there because we were running late for school. There was a gentleman standing on the street corner. You kind of, feel when you're going into places that it's not safe. And so my sister's like, come on, let's go. And so when we walked around him, he grabbed her hat. And when he grabbed her hat, she whisked us away from him. And, but I was lagging behind. When she said run, we started running and I fell. When I fell, he was able to capture me. So when he grabbed me and held me, he held her hat and he asked her to come and get it. He says, come and get your hat. So at that moment, I knew he didn't want me. He really wanted her. My sister's 5 years older than I am. So she was 15 at the time. In the process of that, she's looking at me and I'm looking at her and her eyes just locked in. And you could see the fear in her eyes that just said, I can't help you. I can't help. And my sister is just such a big sister. She's a real good big sister. She's one that always have protected us. And she was the first girl after 5 boys. So she's pretty tough. But when she looked at me, I knew she couldn't help me. So she took my brother with her and they began to run and they ran home to get help. When they left, my abductor took me away and he placed me in a place of confinement. I don't know how long I was there. For me, it was a century. But it was a very dark place for me. And it's a place that reminded me of the constant hurts and the fears and the struggles that I endured throughout my adulthood. So that place never left me. That place was I reserve it as a place to say where fear abided in me. And so my abduction again was the age of 10. The question was, did I know my pedophile? No, I did not know him. I did find out later in life that there was a large number of pedophiles that lived within our community. It was the Inglewood community of Chicago. You hear Obama, the Obamas often refer back to that community. Mm-hmm. That's the community that we grew up in and where my abduction took place.
And, you know, and so looking at the stats, a lot of times these kids that are abducted, unfortunately, they don't know who these people are, but then there's a large population also that, yes, they do know who these people are, that, you know, they're kidnapping kids. And it's just so sad. And I want to share right now with our listeners and our viewers, I want to read to you some of the stats that we did find out, that around 8 million children are reported missing each year, and that's worldwide. But then in addition, an estimated 2,300 children are missing daily here in the United States. And these numbers, they're constantly increasing. They're just increasing. And another fact that I found out, that every 40 seconds here in the United States, a child is missing or has been abducted. Now, that's an alarming fact there, that, you know, the nation, we're all, you know, struggling through this pandemic. But yes, this is true. This is still going on in spite of us having to try to figure out, how are we going to survive? What will we do in this pandemic? Our children are being hurt, you know, and when you look at abduction, I also found out that there are 3 different types of abduction. A stranger, as such in your case, takes a child for criminal purposes, either sexual assaults or just random acts. A person abducts a child also to raise it. And, you know, sometimes you'll see these even on TV in different stories where a child has been abducted by somebody, you know, the mother gives birth and the nurse in the hospital abducts this child and tries to raise this child as its own. You know, and it says parental abduction. A non-custodial parent will even take a child away from the other parent. This is real. It is. This is really still going on. And so now you've been placed into this dark corner, into this dark space. And, you know, we can only imagine some of the thoughts, you know, because you're a child. So you don't know, and you know, your parents taught you to be obedient. So now this person has you locked into a place of confinement. How were you able to get out of this place?
For me, I had one great moment that I'll never forget. One, my sister remembered the face and was able to describe him. Number 2, I know his goal was to destroy me. He wanted to kill me. He didn't know what to do with me after the abuse had begun. I remember him leaving me for hours and days, and it seemed like centuries, where I sat in a dark room with no clothes on a cold concrete floor. As I sat there, he would leave and he would come back and just look and stare at me as to wonder, what am I going to do next? One day he left. And when he left this time, I remember him coming back for a quick moment and leaving right back out again. When he left that time, there was a door that opened. And then I had these 2 men that walked in this time. So now I'm not sure what is about to happen. And they began to say, it is okay. We come to take you back home. And they lifted me up and wrapped me in a blanket and threw me over their shoulders and covered my body. But my face, I could see when I came out of that place, all the people that stood around, all the police cars. And I could see his face. I'll never forget it, as he stared at me through the back window of that police vehicle. I found out later that the descriptions were given to our local grocery owner. He owned a grocery store in our neighborhood. And the grocery store owner seen him and they watched him. He didn't take me far from my home. I was only 3 blocks from where I lived. And when the grocery store owner seen him, they reported him, followed him, and he took them back to me. So I'll never forget that man in my life, who was the one that led them back to my safety.
I mean, you know, thank God that somebody was able to get there to help and rescue you from that situation. You know, and it's just alarming that so many other kids are kidnapped and they just don't survive. They don't. And as you know, we've heard the different reasons why people are kidnapping children. And some, you know, it's just so sad to see that so many yet just really don't survive. And then psychologically, you know, the damage that is done because you're sitting here at 10 years old trying to figure out why me?
Absolutely.
So, and nobody could explain that to you, the why me. So you've gotten past that situation. Did you return back to school in the same area? What was life for you after that?
Yes. Unfortunately, I remember being returned home, everyone celebrating, glad that I'm there, taking me to the hospital, and my mom and I sitting in a room, and they're saying, did he do anything to you? And my response was, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Nobody did anything to me. And they never checked me. They never went to any great inspection. It was my response that ended the investigation with me. It wasn't until many, many years later that I was able to have a conversation with my mother to ask, you know, why didn't you ask me any questions? Why was what happened such a great secret? They were more concerned about the things that they would remember, that I would remember with constant conversations. So they avoided the conversations for my protection, thinking that would help me. But as an adult, learning that would have been one of the most helpful tools for me, was being able to express those moments so that they can share that I'm home. But they may have been some things that I needed to share outside of the public, outside of the doctors, outside of the investigators. Because being 10, I didn't know how to talk. I grew up with parents that were born in the 30s, where a child should be seen and not heard. So I wasn't free to speak those things or to answer those questions. I just did not know how.
And you know, again, you're a child here still, you know, and
absolutely.
You know, and it's not, you know, alarming that you didn't know how to answer, you know, a lot of the questions that I'm sure that came to you, because you're still inside, I'm sure, scarred, because now, you know, you've got to still figure out, okay, what am I going to do? And I'm sure the fear still lingered on with you for a while, because you're looking back over your shoulder, I'm sure, every time you move, now wondering, okay, what's next? Where am I going to go? But I want to share this with you also, that it says abducted children often come from low-income households. I also found out that 3 in 1,000 children get abducted by a family member each year, and that abductions mostly happen in the afternoon. So he waited, you know, for you, you know, purposely after school, or, you know, going to school. And so we know that these people are just around, they're lurking to see who they can get next. And I want to share this with anybody that may be in this situation or going through this situation. There is a national hotline. Get help, call for help. And that number is 1-800-843-5678. 1-800-843-5678. And, you know, we want to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back talking to Theresa Roberts today on the Place Called Through at this inspirational moment here on WYTV7 Community Broadcasters Network. And if you stay with us, we'll be back to share with Ms. Roberts, continuing on being kidnapped at an early age. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. and welcome back to A Place Called Through, broadcasting live from WYTV7 Community Broadcasters Network. We're sharing with you today from Ms. Theresa Roberts, her story of being abducted, survival, and how she made it through this horrific process at the early age of 10 years old. So we were sharing with you a little bit earlier some statistics that we found out, which indicate that 71% of non-family abductions happen again on the way to school, as such was the case with Ms. Roberts. But alarming, the first 3 hours after the abduction is the most critical part in finding a child. 57% of children abducted by strangers make it back home. Sadly, as we spoke earlier, 40% get killed. Teenagers are the most common age groups of abduction. This information is available, and you can look up more statistics at www.missingkids.org. Get the help. Get the help. Call the National Missing and Exploited Children's Hotline. And that number again is 1-800-843-5678. Get help. Call your local enforcement to get the help. So we're going to move away from that a little bit now. She's gotten past this kidnapping. She's witnessed another little child that, you know, she was able to save from being in this same horrific situation. But growing up now, she wasn't feeling confident. She had pretty much gotten to a point of, you know, I don't feel that anybody cares about me. Nobody was here to help her in those hours of darkness. But there was actually, even though there wasn't a physical person, somebody was there really helping her. And that's how she was able to come through. So as an author now, and as a minister, as a community leader, we want to have Ms. Roberts to talk to us about her book, Why People Don't Like Me. So we want to hear from you, Ms. Roberts. How did you come up with Why People Don't Like Me?
Awesome. A moment. In my life, in my journey, what I began to find out was that I wasn't happy. And when I found out I wasn't happy, God took me on a journey to help me understand what is happiness. And when do you know you found it? And what does it look like? And how long does happiness last? And when do you recognize it left? So happiness had to become a part of my yes. So happiness was the success I achieved when I said yes to the Lord. Once I said yes to him and realized that he was the key to me being happy. Being kidnapped, I went through real fears, real phobias. No one could really understand. Even when I married my husband, I didn't tell him I had been kidnapped. So he never knew what I had been through, although he could feel the effects of what I went through. When I had my daughter, I went through moments where I wouldn't allow anyone to keep her. I couldn't leave her. I didn't like dark places. I didn't like the woods. I didn't like hunting and I didn't like going onto nature walks. And he never could understand why. And I said, I just don't like those kind of things. But because I was kidnapped and I was taken through those dark places, the woods, the wilderness, the back roads, for me, it created new fears. And so what I found myself was surviving without living. I wasn't living life. I was just trying to survive. So I went through life surviving, trying to get to the next place just to make myself happy. What would make me happy? And that's when I went through those opportunities of modeling and commercials and every starstruck opportunity so that they can recognize my greatness and get me out of this place. Even marrying young. I married very young after my first year of college. And I thought, oh, this is the great guy. He's going to give me everything I want. He'll make me happy. I married him just to find out he didn't make me happy. And I wanted to get away from him. Going through that life. And then it's like, God, I don't like him. Why you don't like him? I just don't like him. What is it about him you don't like? I just don't like him because he wasn't able to take away that darkness in my life. And it wasn't until God took me on that journey when I was driving my daughter to school one day and I seen this little 10-year-old girl walking to school. And by now I've been in government working as an IT specialist for about 25 years. And I'm watching this little girl walk to school at the age of 10. And when I see her walking along with her backpack on the side of the road, I'm in my car with my daughter. I glance across and I see her. And now the tears just begin to roll. And I'm not understanding why. Why is that bothering me? Then I ask myself, where's her mother? Where's her mother? Why would her mother let her walk to school by herself? And why is she going to school so late? What happened to her? And oh my God, I can't leave her here. So I'm now in tears and I'm talking my way through her journey of walking her down the street. And I realized, oh, let me just pick her up. And I said, oh, no, I can't do that. Oh, my God, they'll catch me for this. And who's watching me watch her? Oh, my God, what am I doing? And I became so overwhelmed. I dropped my daughter off at school, pulled my car over to the side of the road, and I'm in total tears. And I can't find this little girl because I dropped my daughter off, came back, and she's not there. So my thought was, what happened to her? Where is she? What happened? Is she okay? And I just remember the overwhelming feelings of saying, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with the guilt of watching children be sacrificed for our time that we should commit to them. And I could hear in a clear voice, I'll never forget the moment. God said, I saved your life on purpose. He says, don't ever forget that I saved your life on purpose. He says, I saved you to save them. And he reminded me that my purpose was for children, for single parents, and for families. So I went through my journey of relinquishing the titles of an IT specialist with government, and I walked away. And I started my outreach ministry of the $1 a day after school care program, where I took children in after school, fed them, did their homework, and it cost them $1 a day. And if the parents couldn't pay, can you help me wash the dishes? Can you help me sweep the floors? Can you help me around the facility? And that'll pay your fee. And that program now has been in place 11 years. And I am so proud to say we have helped thousands of children have a safe place that they can go to every day after school because I was the sacrificial lamb. That journey has really helped define who I am. And I'm going to get emotional when I talk about it because they gave me a new purpose of what happiness is all about. So happiness is the success I achieve when I'm able to change someone else's life. That makes me happy. So no longer is it the tangible things that I have. It's not the degrees. It's not the home. It's not the car. It's not the man. It's the message God gave me that gave me the responsibility of changing someone else's life. So every moment that I'm able to serve my children, it is such a blessing for me. I love them. I love my mothers that are struggling to make it and realizing that they can come for help and receive it. And so we graciously open. I don't turn anyone away. This is what I do to give back. And it has opened my life to make me happy. And I tell people this, when you understand your purpose, you find true happiness. So, of course, because of this ministry, I've had the opportunity to minister to many, many single women, many women that are broken, come from abuse of different sorts and matters, different struggles in life. And because of the relationship and the hurt that I've struggled through, it gives me enough compassion to listen, to learn, to help, to change. And now I hear the moments that I heard from myself is, why don't people like me? Why don't they like me? But I found out until you know who you are, no one can like you when you don't like yourself. Not liking yourself comes out in everything that you do. We abuse ourselves because we don't like ourselves. We give ourselves to people to abuse us because we don't know who we are and the value that we serve. And so many of the times in counseling, many women, the question came up over and over again is, why don't people like me? So I started a Bible study for a year. And it was a journey on walking women through their purpose, of becoming the perfect me. And that process of becoming the perfect me was 50 women that we committed to just going through the study together. And it was amazing at how they came out knowing who they were with such confidence. And that journey took me into this book. And actually, it was supposed to be just one book. But because of the process of breaking it apart, it began. And now it is a 6-part series. And Why Don't People Like Me? It's just one of the 6 books in the series of Becoming the Perfect Me.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal, because you've helped so many, not only women, but you've also helped the children, and I would say the total family. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but we definitely want to thank you so much, Ms. Roberts, for sharing your story, your life story. And real quickly, if you would, unfortunately, like I said, we're running out of time. Hold that book back up again for our viewers and our listeners, and also give them, information, an email or phone number to reach out to you for more information or support through your programs. If you do that real quickly for us, we got about 3 seconds left.
Absolutely. You can contact me at teresaaroberts.com. That's my website, and phone number 843-525-1043. Again, 843-525-1043. Why don't people like me?
I do thank you so very much for being my guest today here on A Place Called Through. And like I said, we're broadcasting live from WYTV7 Community Broadcasters Network, where we share a mission of hope. Our job is to encourage and to inspire and to empower people globally. Once again, I am that host. I am Patricia Wade Goings. I am the author of a book, Willpower, The Call to Rise Above. It is available online at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. To be a guest, if you like this inspirational moment and those that will follow and those that have previously been showed, please reach out to me in area code of 843-608-9744 or by email at pgoingswp@gmail.com. You may also follow me at Facebook at A Place Called Through, and my website is www.willpowerthecalltoriseabove.org. I want to just thank you for taking the time out, for listening and watching us. But there's one thing we'd like to ask you. Please remember to sow those seeds into this ministry to help us with our mission of hope so that we can continue to inspire people as we do so globally. And don't forget, November the 30th is our Giving Tuesday. So please sow that seed. Help us continue. Blessings and love to each one of you. And we thank you again for sharing this time today with us on Inspirational Moments at A Place Called Through.